Good evening and welcome to The Big Ticket. I'm Doug Wright along with Jeff Fisher. Coming up on the show tonight, our #1 team rolls it up again. They're not #3 in the country for nothing, these guys. Also, we've got a major upset in the Colonial League. We'll get to that in just a minute. But our big game this week, a Mountain Valley Conference battle between Pleasant Valley and Stroudsburg.
And speaking of Pleasant Valley, the Mountain Valley Conference has been a pleasant surprise this year. A lot of close action there. 3 teams coming into this with 1 loss, Pleasant Valley, Stroudsburg, and Nazareth. And then right behind them is Lehighton. And also behind there is Northampton with 2 losses. So 2 losses could win this thing this year. We expected a close game tonight, too. We didn't get one. Channel 69's Al Ganoza has our wrap-up.
A great entrance by Pleasant Valley, but it would go downhill from there. The special teams were the fog in the early going for Pleasant Valley. The bad punt snap set Stroudsburg up in great position. Then Emmanuel Tucker had an excellent night. Would vault over right guard for the touchdown with 2.5 minutes going by at 7-0 Stroudsburg. Pleasant Valley gives Stroudsburg another lift. Mark Bursa is intercepted by Rick Burkonda. He would go 38 yards. Nice running for the touchdown. 14-0 with nearly 4 minutes gone by in the ballgame. Pleasant Valley then gives away field position and Stroudsburg drives 42 yards in 5 plays. Burkonda hits Corey Chambers. 25 yards at a 21-0 lead early in the second quarter. Another interception gives Stroudsburg the ball. The PV 42 plays later. There goes Tucker again. His second touchdown of the night. 28-0 Stroudsburg. Both teams come into this ball game at 5-2, but were they evenly matched? Well, we'll never know. Stroudsburg needed only 100 yards of total offense and rolling to an early 28-0 lead. Interceptions, a fumble, a bad snap. Pleasant Valley buried itself before it had a chance to show how good it actually was. Pleasant Valley finally gets the end zone late in the first half. Bursick on the keeper on 4th and 1 scores. But Stroudsburg comes right back. There's Tucker again with a great speed coming right at us. 35 yards for the touchdown. That gave him over 1,000 of the season. Stroudsburg rolls easily tonight with a win over Pleasant Valley. Reporting from Pleasant Valley, this is Al Ganoza for The Big Ticket.
Thank you very much, Al. There you see the final score. Stroudsburg over Pleasant Valley by the count of 49-14. That's got to be a surprise. Pleasant Valley playing at home on homecoming, big game. You expect the Bears to keep it a little closer than that.
But the Mounties have rebounded from their 2 losses. They've scored 49 points in 2 of the last 3 weeks and 61 last week. That's a big win for Stroudsburg. They were #5 in District 11 4A, so that's going to move them up. Pleasant Valley came in as the #2 team, so it's going to slip down. I'll tell you, this conference is a dandy, and it may come down to the last weekend.
We have one more final score from the Mountain Valley Conference tonight. It's Pocono Mountain winning over Nazareth. Final score there was 21-0. And which Blue Eagle team's going to show up on any given night?
Yeah, it's hard to say. Upset 1 week and they come back and can't get points on the board. Big game for Travis Skillman for the Cardinals. A single game rushing record for Pocono Mountain, 271 yards on 35 carries. A school record, John Schultheis, 2 field goals in that game for the Cards.
Well, for the first time in October, Central Catholic played on a Friday night, and you and I took advantage and headed down to Emmaus before the show to check out the Vikings. First time I got to see them in person all year, and boy, were they impressive.
If anybody goes to a Central Catholic game and watches more than a minute or 2 and doesn't agree that they're #3 in the country, you've got to go to a psychiatrist and have your head checked. This team has so many weapons. They really do. Let's check the highlights on this one against Emmaus tonight in a game that Central Catholic shouldn't have had many problems in. They came out and they didn't have any problems. Early on, it's Fran Volpe. You remember him last year, had the broken ankle, came back against Berwick and had a great game. Vikings on top by a score of 6-0. Mark Lapadula, All-State last year. He had that big Berwick game. He's going to rumble and stumble. Watch number 55 right there. Harold Fairclough. What a block to spring Lapadula. He goes into the end zone, and it's 12-0, and the Vikes begin to roll. Emmaus trying to regather things, but it's not going to happen. Rashawn Drayton, Florida State's looking at him. Syracuse is looking at him. Everybody's looking at him. Doug wants him to go to Syracuse.
Go to Syracuse for Sean.
See if he'll go there or not, but there's a touchdown, 74 yards, 20-0. Vikes rolling, and they're protecting that #3 lead in the nation. They're hoping for one of the top 2 teams to fall behind Mike Caramelli. This guy's a bull. He's only a junior, 6'1", 215, big run there. And that will set up Rashawn Drayton's 2nd touchdown of the game. Central Catholic, no problems again tonight, flexing their muscles one more time for the 2nd straight week. 52 points as they win 52-8.
You know, Jim Morgans doesn't try to run it up on anybody. He has the starters pulled out of there, but they were so far ahead. in the first half that, hey, what are you going to do? 52-8 the final score. Talk about another blowout game. Number 3, Bethlehem Catholic went to J. Bernie Crum Stadium. The Hawks rout Allen 48-0.
Becca, a big game next week as they take on Liberty over there at BSD. Becca, the number 2 team in District 11 3A. We'll say it one more time. Circle the date, November 5th, 7:30.
It's a night game, by the way.
Yeah, night game. Some of the papers had it as a noon game. It is now 7:30 over at BSD. That will be a dandy. And the thing is, they'll probably come back to next week and meet again in the district championship for 3A.
We got a good one for you tonight also in the East Penn Conference. Number 13, Whitehall taking on number 15, Liberty. The District 11 playoffs on the line, perhaps in this one. The winner would have a great shot at it. The loser maybe would be left out. It's kind of hard to say at this point. We're still early on. Pick up the action in the first quarter of this one. John Lehman hits Brian Manger. And watch what Manger does. Breaking tackles along the way. Brian Manger is at the 30. He's at the 20. He's at the 10, the 5. Touchdown, Liberty. And they're up 6-0. Boy, that was fun. Lehman, later in the game, is going to go to the same guy. Pretty pass. Look at the spiral right into the hands of Manger. Great grab, 12-0 Liberty in front. Later, it's Asar Long for the Canes, sweeping left. And Asar gets into the end zone for the score that made it 19-0 Liberty, but Whitehall comes from behind and shocks Liberty 26-25. The Canes blow that 19-0 lead, and we saw Liberty blow a lead one other time this year.
It was against Parkland. It was the second game of the year. Parkland scored 14 in the final quarter to beat the Hurricanes. Hurricanes, they have Becca next week. A lot of people have predicted an upset there. That one will not help the cause.
Whitehall winning by 1. One other score from the East Penn Conference. How about the Red Rovers? They're back. Easton over Parkland, 32-25 tonight.
2 wins in a row, 3 good games in a row. But Brian Bookman for the Trojans tonight. Listen to these stats in the passing department. 26 of 38, 346 yards.
346.
346, but Parkland cannot come up with the victory. Well, maybe the best team in the Channel 69 viewing area that will not go into the postseason is the Phillipsburg Stateliners. They're ineligible for the playoffs in New Jersey, and of course they can't compete in District 11, so they're going to come and sit at home and watch everybody else play in the postseason. Tonight they played Northampton, and let's check the highlights on this very good Liners squad. Keith Coleman came in early in the year, and he can throw the football. Touchdown to Corey Tom, and that made it 26-0 as the Stateliners got out to an early lead. And then Leonard Moore, we saw him earlier today. We did the feature on Joe Luke and Leonard Moore, best 1-2 punch maybe in the East Penn Conference. He goes for the big run there, and that made it 29-0. And then at the start of the second half, the kickoff, Joe Luke, number 22, right up the middle, gets a good block. He is going to go coast to coast. And the Stateliners coast as they win tonight over Northampton by a score of 59-7. That's 59 points too shy of the Northampton record for giving up points. They lost in 1924, 61-0 to Bangor. And one other note, Doug, next week, Joe Luke and Leonard Moore are going to be on ESPN Sports America at 5:30. These two guys are great athletes and good students.
And a big blowout win by Peaburg. Northampton was number 4 in our preseason poll. What's happened to the K-Kids? Let's look at some more scores now. In Suburban 1. Quakertown gets 2 on the board, but it wasn't enough against Souderton tonight.
Jared Allman of Souderton, 4 INTs. He had 2 last week. He returned 1 tonight for a touchdown. 6 INTs in the last 2 weeks.
Impressive. North Penn over Harry S. Truman, 34-20 tonight. Elsewhere at CB East over Neshaminy, 38-14 was that final score. We move on to the Pac-10 now. Owen J. Roberts losing by 1. The Pottsgrove, 7-6.
Owen J. only 1 win this year. We had him in the top 20 at the beginning of the year. They have not had this bad a season since 1966.
Perk Valley blanking Pottstown. That team struggling, 38-0. Phoenixville over St. Pius X, 39-14 is that final score.
Phoenixville 7-0, and as we indicated last week, they'll probably go undefeated into the Thanksgiving Day game against number 4 Springford, which plays tomorrow.
That should be an outstanding contest. One more score for you. Downingtown over Boyertown, 48-21.
6 losses in a row for the Bears. They're having problems. The Whippets. I love that nickname. Downingtown now 7-0. They're one of the top 4A teams in the state. They have a great fullback, Aaron Harris, who's going to Penn State. Check him out next year as a freshman.
Downingtown's always good at girls basketball, too. The Central Catholic fans know that. They always seem to run into Downingtown in the state playoffs. All right, back to the Lehigh Valley and high school football tonight. And on to the Colonial League. Number 5, Bangor maybe with a chance for a letdown tonight. Don't forget the Slaters beat Palmerton in what was supposed to be the big game last week. This week, they take on Notre Dame, a team that started slowly, but the Crusaders were picking things up. And tonight, we had a surprise. Dave Lesko has the story.
Heavily favored Bangor planned to come in tonight's game and carve another notch in the victory column. Early on, though, the defense was the name of the game, as Bangor's number 16, Jamie Steen, comes up with a fumble recovery midway through the first. Their ensuing possession would not be fruitful, but Notre Dame's would, as Harold Vinson would take the handoff and go 24 yards deep into Bangor territory. Then later in the drive, the first play of the second quarter, Vinson takes it in again from the 1. The score at 11:58 of the second, Notre Dame 7, Bangor 0. The Slaters would have 3 more possessions in the second, but failed to put any points on the scoreboard. At the half, Bangor fans probably thought their Slaters would be well ahead of the Crusaders, but a defensive battle and an out-of-sync Bangor offense gave Notre Dame the edge. Could quarterback Jason Marasini get it going and give Bangor its 8th win of the season? He would, but it wouldn't be until late in the game. Marasini here hits Matt Diomito with a 16-yard strike. And then 4 plays later, junior halfback Jared Hughes punches it in from the 3 for the score. With 1:42 left in the game, it was Notre Dame 7, Bangor 6. A gutsy call from head coach Paul Farnan had the Slaters going for the 2, but the conversion failed. On the ensuing kickoff, Bangor elected to onside kick for one more shot at the end zone. And they came up with it. The excitement was short-lived, however, as on the first snap of the drive, Marasini throws the dreaded INT to number 20, Bill Birkenstock, to end the ballgame. Number 4, Bangor loses tonight to Notre Dame in an upset 7-6. In Bangor, I'm Dave Lesko for the Big Ticket.
All right, thank you very much, Dave. There's a shocker. Notre Dame 7, Bangor 6, and no one's going to believe me, but I call this upset. Would you back me up on this?
Props to you on this one. You called this one around 4:30 this afternoon. Big game tomorrow night in the Colonial League. Palmerton at Catasauqua. Catasauqua undefeated. Should Palmerton win, it's a 3-way tie atop the league.
Big win for Notre Dame. Colonial League now. Another score from that league is Northwestern over Northern Lehigh, 38-27. To the Eastern Conference, Panther Valley and Tamaqua in a good one. Panther Valley wins by a field goal. On we go to the Lancaster-Lebanon League. Wilson West Lawn, the number 16 team in our poll, blanking Warwick 42-0.
They're still only a game behind the leaders there, and Reading gets its 2nd win of the year over Penn Manor.
14-0 the final score there. More scores for you now. One more from the Lancaster-Lebanon League. It's Governor Mifflin getting shut out. In the Berks IC, it's Conrad Weiser over Kutztown, 24-14. Muhlenberg, the number 8 team in our poll, a loser tonight, 33-7.
Cocalico, best 2A team in the state right now.
So some changes in our top 10 for next week. Why missing blanking Reading Central Catholic 49-0.
Reading Central Catholic 0-8.
Yes, they're not having a good year. Holy Name, number 18 over Exeter, 12-8 was that final score. Daniel Boone over Hamburg, 30-16. We got some scores from the Skyland Conference now. Number 19, Voorhees wins again, 21-0 over Del Val.
Voorhees will have a showdown with Somerville, and that will be for the Raritan Division title over there.
North Hunterdon blanks Hackettstown, 37-0, and it's Watchung Hills over Hunterdon Central, 17-14 was that final score. But quickly to recap, the main stories are number 1 and 3 teams in our poll, Central and Beck. They just run it up on some weaker opposition tonight, and the big upset by Notre Dame over Bangor, 7-6 tonight. Yeah, Bangor, you know, a team that we thought was going to roll, and that's not going to happen now. I still look forward to next week's Becca and Liberty game, because even though Liberty stumbled, I have a feeling it could be a good game. That's that intra-city rivalry that's going to go on, and I look for the Hurricanes to play a big game. They almost beat them last year. Dick Wortwine should have his team up for that one. That's going to do it for this week's edition of The Big Ticket. Thanks for watching us, and we'll see you again next Friday night. Good night.